Kia ora everyone, welcome back to the channel. We have the colouring journal on the desk, so it must be our favourite colouring video of the month, Completed Pages. My name is Amy, aka Amy Ward Art, and I have for you today November 2024's Completed Pages. Now for the month of November, my goal was to work on books that were in my collection that I had not previously worked in, that were untouched. And I ran a hashtag to go along with this, New Book November 2024. And I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who participated in this hashtag. Like, there were over 100 posts that went into this hashtag. That is incredible. I am so touched. I really loved seeing so much beautiful work come out of this hashtag, and I'm so glad that so many of you participated and got to work those books in your collection. So yeah, this is a little snippet of all the things that have been posted this month that I managed to catch. I am sorry if I did miss your posts. I tried to keep on top of it as best as I can, but sometimes Instagram didn't show me everything. But I think I got the majority of them. I got a lot of them. Yeah, so incredible month, and really, really inspiring to see so many of you tackling those unworked books. And for myself, I also got the mojo this month. Like, November was absolutely wild in terms of my colouring, because I have for you today a doozy of a video. I completed 45 pages, including 7 double page spreads, and that came from 38 books. I just about completed 2 full pages, and these pages hold 20 books. So yeah, it was a month, and that means that I have a lot, and I mean a lot of pages to show you. So this is going to be a crazy long video. A crazy long video. But before we jump to the books, I haven't shown this in a while, but I thought I would show my bookshelf. So this is something I drew in at the start of the year, and then I went through and coloured in all the books that had been previously worked in blue. Anything that's in pink is something that I've worked this year, and anything that's in grey has been unhauled. And you can see just how much pink has made it onto the shelf, but also just how few white books we have left. We'll go fully over the stats at the end, but I am really proud of this month and really excited to get into this. I have 4 piles of books in front of me, so I don't know where I'm going to put things. We'll do our best to make this work. Oh, maybe you can go there. Should be good there unless shadow turns up. We'll find out. We'll make this work. So I figured I would start with the 2 pages that I did not manage to complete this month. 2 whips, unfortunately, but considering how much I did this month, we'll take 2 whips. So the first one's not a new whip. I did do a little bit more work in Leela Dooley's Walk in the Woods. Now, this is a page that I have been struggling with for a long time. It's been a whip for a really long time. I do love this book. It is beautiful. Leela Dooley's work is gorgeous. The issue is for me is that a lot of it is primarily florals, and florals really don't excite me. I have to be in such a specific mood to work in florals. So having a whole book of essentially florals means that this is not a book that I am naturally drawn to a lot. So I had started these purpley flowers. These 3 are done. I'd started them a while ago with polychromos pencils, and I think some fine liners in there too. And then I just never come back to this because it's never been on my high priority inspired by list. And so while I was working this month, I was looking at this page because if I could get this page finished, it's a page finished in this book, which is currently unworked. Plus, it would free me up to try another page because I'd love to try an animal page, and I think that would help me get a bit more into the books. I chose this page randomly, and I think that's part of the problem is that I'm genuinely not inspired by this page. Again, very specific mood to color just florals. So what I decided to do was come in here with my Inktense pencils. I didn't really look up the colors of the flowers or the leaves or anything. I just wanted to come in here and base out the rest of this image to help break it up, to make it a little bit more obvious and hopefully motivate me to come back in. And it has helped by just filling out the rest of the page, because now I can actually see, oh, here's where these leaves are, here where these flowers are. So now I can come in here with my pencils and just work on a section and just pull out colors for that particular section. I can break it down now, which is helping me feel less overwhelmed by the page, because I am feeling very overwhelmed by this whip, which is why it's been a whip for so long and why it's difficult for me to get back to it. But I do want to get it finished, and then I would like to try another page in this book before I decide if it's a book I need in my collection or if it's something that I'm going to pass on, because I also suspect it's just the page that I chose, and there's some other pages in here that appeal to me a bit more. So I'm going to try another one, and then I'll think about if it's just a book I need to unhaul or a book I keep in my collection. But yeah, I do love her work. I just know me and my uninspiredness colouring flowers. I know a lot of people love flowers and colouring flowers. For me, it's just something that I just don't enjoy colouring flowers all that much. And that's okay. Something I do enjoy colouring is Kerby Rosanes. I love Kerby's work. You will see that there is a lot of Kerby coming up. But this one is a page in Mythic Animals. This is my latest Kerby. It is a compilation book that covers Mythomorphia, Worlds Within Worlds, and Mythic World. And I have a work in progress in here, which is the Cyclops. Now, this is actually a page that I have coloured before in Mythomorphia. And I have Mythomorphia here to show you. I didn't actually work in Mythomorphia this month, but I pulled it out to show the page. So this is the original version that I did in Mythomorphia. And when I did this, I was in not a great space, and I really rushed this page, especially all like the coppery bronze. I really hated how it came out. I was very happy with the Cyclops skin, but I wasn't really inspired by what I had done. I wasn't overall very impressed with the page. Like, it was like, cool, the page is done, but it wasn't my favorite thing in the world. So I saw this page and I was like, hang on, we can do this again and we can do this better. So I decided that I was going to redo the page, and this is why I love having the compilation books. So right now I have only done an Inktense base, and I have not finished working all the metal, as you can see. Now, I probably could have pushed through and actually finished this last night, but part of the reason why I hate the other version of the Cyclops page is because I rushed it. And so I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. This is going to be a whip. It's fine. Like, I don't want to rush this and make the same mistake as last time. So I've got my little list here of the Inktense colours, and I've also written down some of the skin colours because I might come in and add a bit more to the skin here. I haven't decided what pencils I'm going to use over the top of this either. I'll probably use polys. I do love using polys over Inktense, but I also really love my Pablos. So yeah, I haven't quite decided what I'm finishing it off with, but I like how it's progressing. I really like my red Cyclops this time with the green. It almost feels like Christmas colors, even though it's not Christmassy, but I like the contrast. So once I finish doing the base of the rest of the chains in the middle, then I'll start coming in here with pencils and shading that. I might even do it Christmassy colors and just call it a Christmas Cyclops. It could be kind of fun, and it means I could work on it in December. Haha. But yes, that is Kerby Selection Mythic Animals and a brand new whip that I did create this month. However, very much okay with that in the grand scheme of things. And we just have to put our hair tie around Morphia. Okay, now to the 45 completed pages. So let's start with let's start with the giant books and get these ones out of the way. So we'll start with these three. So these are all made by the same company. These are all made by Hinkler, and they are by their sub-brand Artmaker. And we have Dragon Riders, Fae Fantasy, and Queen of Dragons. Now these are all AI art. I brought these books without realizing that they were AI generated. Because I couldn't return them, I decided to keep them and work in them, but I do want to make clear that this is AI art and not something that I try to keep in my collection if I can avoid it. So the first page is from Queen of Dragons, and I have A Promise of Love, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous page here. So I need somewhere to stick all the post-its. So this page here I based with alcohol markers, and I use Pablo pencils, distress ink in the background, which I activated to make it all splattery, and then I used some Kaisercraft gold shimmer spray over the top. I went a little heavy with the gold shimmer spray, but I also really like the way the shimmer of the shimmer spray is. And what I was thinking was the color of this one's here is also the color of the branches in the background, and it's got some of the same greens as well, because I really imagined her as like a forest spirit that is fallen in love with a regular human girl. I really liked that idea of two worlds becoming one, and so I really wanted to illustrate like two very different characters falling in love, which I think comes across. Also, because this is AI art, some of her hair actually turns into the branches. It hasn't been well defined because it's AI art. So I thought, well, that's a way to kind of make that work, is like she is the forest. So that was my idea there. And then I thought the gold shimmer spray would help with like, you know, like the floaty, spectral, magical forest air. And yeah, I know, it made a little story in my head, and I really liked how that came together. Yeah, it's very sweet, and it was really fun to do. Again, I do really like the images in this book, even if it is AI generated, which is why I decided to keep them. Ooh, come here. And then the next one is Dragon Riders. And we have Bonded. And so this one, I knew that I wanted to, oops, oh yeah, that's right, there's glitter stuck to this page. I really wanted the dragon egg to be a light source, and I wanted to have like really dark around it, and then all about that dragon egg. Now, it's because of the brightness of my lights, it is going to blow it out a bit. So this is a lot more solid black in real life than it's looking on camera, because the camera is struggling a lot with all this dark colour. So I used, did I base with alcohol markers? I did base with alcohol markers. And then on top of the markers, because A, my markers were dying as I coloured in the background, but B, the colours were too vibrant, I started off doing a layer of watercolour over top of the alcohol and using just a watered down black to deepen the colours, but it wasn't actually enough. So I pulled out my Liquitex acrylic ink and did another layer over the top, and that really darkened down the background. And I wanted to do that so that this dragon egg appeared even brighter. The contrast between the dark and the light is what helps make glow effects appear more glowy. And then on her, I used my Pablo pencils to colour in everything, including all this metalwork, which I'm pretty pleased with for the metalwork. I feel like that came together really well. Yeah, I really like how she came together. And then there's a little bit of Posca and gold metallic gel pen on the egg itself, just to give like that really sharp glowing edge and just a little bit of sparkle in the egg. And then all the glitter that you're seeing in the background is because there was accidentally some glitter on my brush when I did the acrylic ink. But it still kind of works, especially because it's mostly focused on the night sky. So it's just like a couple of stars in the sky or a couple of little magic speckles in the air. So the glitter is completely accidental, but I'm not angry at it. Yeah, that is the page in Artmaker Dragon Riders. And then hit my light. And then the final one is in Artmaker Fae Fantasy. And that is this one here. Really like how this one came out. So once again, I used alcohol markers to base the whole page, and I also used distress ink in the background, which again I have activated with some water to splatter it everywhere. I went over the top with Pablo or Polly's, or maybe both. Where are you on my list? I've got so many pages on my list, so it takes a moment to find. There you are. Polly's and... yeah, just Polly's. Okay, so it was Polychromos pencils. There's also a little bit of Posca for the gold tattoos on her arms, and she also has some tattoos under her eyes, so I just put some Posca on there, and then like her eye shinies and lip shinies and just some highlights. And then there's also some Mod Podge Extreme Glitter, which I added on top of the flowers. And I did that because of the fact this is AI art. Some of the flowers were a bit illogical and very unclear. So, like, especially down here with the purple flowers, this was just a mess. So I just kind of dotted in green and purple alcohol markers and used a bit of pencil to like shade how it looked like it might be overlapping very, very loosely, and then just stippled the glitter on top. And from a distance, it looks like flowers. Like, it looks like it's just a cluster of small flowers. So that's how I covered up some of the kind of illegible line work. Same with like the hair. The hair got a bit wild in some places, but I made it work. Yeah, I really like how she turned out. She's real pretty. And again, I was going to color her with like green hair and make her like a forest fae. And then I got to this page and was like, you know what? I just want to do blue hair. I'm in the mood for blue hair. And I'm glad I did. I really loved the pop of blue with all the green and the florals. And yeah, I really like how that one turned out. That is Artmaker Fae Fantasy. And then the final large oversized book I have is the HBO Game of Thrones colouring book. Now, this is different from the George R. Martin colouring book that is the Game of Thrones colouring book, which is this one here for comparison. This one is based on the television show. So it is quite a lot bigger and has very different images in it. And I did a very simple page in here, which is the map of Westeros. So this one, really, really straightforward. I prepped the page with Liquitex clear acrylic gesso, and then I went to town with my Liquitex acrylic inks and my Kaisercraft shimmer sprays. Now, I could go in here and darken maybe around the edges of the lands and make them pop out a bit more, but genuinely on this night, all I wanted to do was slap around some inks. I've had a lot of need this month to do colouring. Colouring is my mental wellness activity. It's how I help myself in times of anxiety or times of struggle. So this month, there was a lot of times that I really needed to just be creative. Some nights that meant doing really detailed, beautiful pages, and some nights it meant just pulling out a certain media and playing. And so that's what this night was. I really like the result. Like, I did this in an hour. This isn't the page that I put the most effort into, but I'm really happy with the result. And it's a double page spread that is technically done. Can I do more to it? Yes. May I do more to it in the future? Yes. Am I happy calling it done for now? Yes. So yeah, just Liquitex acrylic ink and Kaisercraft shimmer spray on top of a gessoed background, and then I used a little bit of washi tape just to clean up the edges and stuff like that. It doesn't stick down too well to the to the gesso, so yeah, it will compress down as this lives on my bookshelf, but yeah, happy with that. Very simple but very effective, and got a page done in the Game of Thrones colouring book. Well, since we talked about it, we might as well show the other Game of Thrones colouring book. This is the George R.R. Martin version. So this one has illustrations that are inspired from the original books. They're not based on the television show characters. And I did Sansa Stark. So this one was pulled from my November plans video, in which I randomly drew 21 books from my unworked book list. I went well and truly over my November plans, so yeah, but this one was originally pulled to complete, and I was really excited to get into this one because I saw it straight away, and I love how this one turned out. This is one of my favorites of the month, and it is entirely done with with Derwent Inktense, with just a little bit of Liquitex acrylic ink in white for all the snow splatter, and just a tiny little bit of stickles on the moon. But yeah, primarily Derwent Inktense, and I love how it turned out. I was very tempted to put the glitter all over the snow, but I think just that little touch of the moon is just enough to give it that sparkle that I was hoping for, but still keep it, yeah, very happy with it. And did I actually use some pencil on top for the highlights, or did I do that in Inktense? I might have added... Oh, I used Albert Dürer. Yes, because I had to pull out Albert Dürer's just so that I had a couple of lighter skin tones for her face. And then I used the yellow unactivated to also do some sharper highlights on the fur as well. Just so I got a little bit of that yellow glow in. But yeah, very happy with how this page turned out. The gorgeous book. I really want to do some more in here. This one and the Thrones of Glass and the Court of Thorns and Roses coloring books, they're all this style, and they just they work so well with Inktense. I really love working in them, and I'm looking forward to doing some more with Inktense in them. Okay, let's do this one, because this one is odd shaped. This is Millie Mariotta's Tropical Wonderland. It is a postcard set, and it usually lives in my hospital bag, just in case I need to go into hospital quickly. I have a bag that is prepped and ready to go. There's actually a video about it on my channel, and this is one of the things that live in there, because again, colouring is my anxiety tool. Going into hospital is anxious, so this is one of the things that usually lives in there. However, the random drawing of the month pulled this one out as something to work on. And so I did a page in here. Now, I did this at a hospital appointment waiting for my mum. So it was very perfect entertainment while I waited for her. And I did this gorgeous bird card. Now, I don't know if this is it's probably based on an actual bird, but I took some inspiration from some New Zealand bird colours for the actual bird. I looked at like the tui and a couple of other birds. It's not exact. I kind of mixed up my references a little bit, but I was just looking more at the colours. And then for the flower, I actually took inspiration from a Fae flower, which is a beautiful yellow flower here. And then, of course, because I was taking inspiration from New Zealand, I was like, cool, let's do silver ferns, because silver ferns is a very big thing in New Zealand. So yeah, the bird itself is done in the Staedtler double-tipped water-based markers. And same with the Ko-Fi flower. Wow, I can't word today. This is a good sign. We've got a lot more books to go through. The background is a glitter paint pen and then a metallic paint pen as well. Unfortunately, both the silver paint pen splattered a bit and then a bit of the green also splattered onto the bird, but it's okay. I don't mind that. I like how it turned out, especially with that like bright, shiny silver fern running through it. And yeah, because I did this at a hospital appointment while my mum was getting a CT scan, it was also really good entertainment while I waited. And meant that I have now worked a postcard in this beautiful set. And this will go back into my hospital bag now. I was gifted 4 beautiful colouring books by the amazing Smalt this month. And with that, I wanted to work in every single book that came in. And so I did. And I am very excited to show you all of them. So we'll start off with Magical Woodland by Kate Pellerin. And I did this really cute page here. So once again, this was done with Derwent Inktense, and I focused primarily on trying out a bunch of the new colours because Smalt also sent me the 28 new Derwent Inktense colours that I was missing from my collection. So I was playing around with a lot of the new colours to get used to them and just see what I could do with them. And then I also used some polychromos pencils on top and a little bit of stickles that I put on way too thickly, so it's kind of covered up my characters entirely. And I thought with how light the lines are on this page, it would be really nice to use Inktense and go for that watery light effect. I think in future I would try to do a more fully coloured in page rather than using the Inktense on its own, because I only use like the polys on the tree just to kind of clean up a bit of the tree. Everything else was pretty much done just entirely with the Inktense. So yeah, I think next time I do a page in here, I want to colour it more solidly. It is so cute though. It is such a gorgeous book. And I'm still very happy with the outcome. I think it's just taking a moment to find my groove because it's so different to everything else I've coloured, but also super, super cute. And it was really fun to play with the new Inktense colours and just get to familiarise myself with those colours. They're so gorgeous. That is Magical Woodland by Kate Pellerin. And then another new book that I got this month is Cute Chibi Creature Colouring by Phoebe M. This was another gift from Smalt. And I did this cute Squidmurm Octomurm. I did this page here. This is perfect because I was working on so many detailed pages at the time that I just wanted something simple, quick, and easy. And this is very similar to all the cute, cozy coloring books that are doing all the rounds now. Like, there's a on the actual Happy Mail video, I do a full flip through of this book. And it really is like the cute and cozy books. So if you're into the cute and cozy books, you may want to pick up this one. Even though it's not your standard square book, it's very much giving the cute and cozy vibes. So I used alcohol markers, and then I used some Posca just to add in some highlights and a little bit of stickles on the bubbles. Very, very simple and straightforward, but I just think it's so cute. And again, I really needed a break and just a simple page, and it made me so happy. It's a water friend, which I love water friends. Just, yeah, very, very happy with this one. I can see myself doing a lot in this book. That is Cute Chibi Creature Colouring by Phoebe M. Okay, the next one I have is also another gift from the beautiful Smalt. And this is Secret Worlds by Stephanie Law. This one, oh my gosh, this is such a detailed colouring book, but absolutely gorgeous. If you have not seen Stephanie Law's artwork, it is absolutely stunning, and I really recommend you check her out on Instagram because her work is just mind-blowing. But I did this turtle page, and this was for Emily at eArt Studios birthday bash turtle tag as well, where for her birthday we coloured in turtles. And so this one I started with a watercolor base, and I did start shading some areas with the watercolor as well, like Stephanie does on her page. However, because the lines were so black and I'm not the best with watercolors, one night I came to work on this again and I was like, you know what? Water-based markers. I love my water-based markers. I did a lot with them this month. I really enjoy just using Crayola super tips and brush markers, and I have a tub of assorted water-based markers, and I really enjoyed coloring in this one and just pulling out the markers. And then I did pull out some metallic gel pens as well, just to do some elements on the page, so all the gold and the silver, and like I even pulled out the blue and the green, and I think even some purple in some areas, like on the pearl. Yeah, I was just really going to town with this and just having a lot of fun. So that is Secret Worlds by Stephanie Law. Then we have Dragonology. And I did Draco Stupidus. I love this page. I just think it's so funny. Um, I just think it's hilarious. And yeah, just cracked me up. So I knew I had to color this one in the book. I just think it's so, so funny. So this one, I used watercolor in the background, and you can see, unfortunately, where Shadow tried to help me with his claw, but that's okay. So watercolor in the background that I just kind of mixed a couple of colors together and did a bit of an abstract background. And then the dragon itself is again colored with water-based markers. I just used a mixture of like coloring in sections, but also stippling and layering to add all the shading. And then I used glitter gel pens to add to the yellow. So like his tail has a bit of glitter on it, all the little polka dots on his body, his claws, even like sections of his wing ears, and then of course the eggs that he is currently pooping out. Really, really love it. Now over here it does actually give you some specific color combos. It says that it had black upper body covered in small white flecks, a white underbody, and prominent red ears. And then others say red and both white. Yeah, I ignored that entirely and went with my own color scheme because that's more fun. And this is what I wanted to do. So yeah, that is my page in Dragonology. Right, I have some Theresa Goodridge colouring pages to show you next. So I ended up doing two, which means now every single Theresa Goodridge book has been worked, which is exciting. So we'll do country farm scenes first because this one's pretty straightforward. It is the Taste of the Country page. And once again, it's entirely done in water-based markers. Again, I really enjoy working just in water-based markers. And yeah, it's really straightforward to just come in here at night, put on a movie or a podcast, and just pull out the markers and just go to town. I do need to find some more pale markers though. My pastels are all running very low. So I've got a lot of vibrants, a lot of darks, but I'm running very low on pastel colors. So I do need to get another set that is just pastel themed. So if you've got any recommendations for water-based markers that are in a pastel set, I know Crayola do a pastel set. I can't access it in New Zealand though. But if you've got any other brands, let me know. So yeah, entirely done in water-based markers, no Posca, no gel pens, no anything else on top, just all water-based markers. And I really like how it turned out. And I know in here, these are probably meant to be green beans, but I couldn't help but make them peppers because I love my chilies. I love my spices. And I was like, screw it, I'm going to make them chilies. So yeah, it's a bit of an odd mixture because I'm like, some of these vegetables are summer fruits and some of these are winter fruit, winter produce, right? Like, I know I don't have a green thumb. I'm really not good at growing vegetables and stuff like that. So it's like these don't like pumpkins are definitely more winter, like late autumn, winter. Of course, it gets thrown off by the fact that like seasonally things we get veggies out of season so easily now. But I imagine this is what they're growing on the farm. And so like apples I know are a winter product. But then I was like, are these oranges or something else? And it's like oranges are more summer fruit. And then I thought peppers were a summer fruit, which is why I was like, maybe they're actually green beans. But then how are they growing bananas as well? Because that's a tropical fruit. So yeah, I don't quite know what's going on with this farm. But yeah, so that is Country Farm Scenes by Theresa Goodridge, produced by Creative Haven. And then the other Theresa Goodridge one I have is Romantic Country Scenes. Now, when I pulled this one in my random choosing of books for the month, I had originally marked to do this Love Boat page because I really thought it was cute at the time. And I was like, we can do that. However, I am a part of the Theresa Goodridge colouring book on Facebook. It's really, really neat if you like Theresa's work. And every month they put out like a group buddy colour using the freebie pages that you can easily access. And they also do a monthly challenge. Now, I don't do it every month, but if the prompt lines up with something I want to colour, I will do the challenge. And so this month's prompt was to do something warm and cozy and have you colour in like sitting in front of a fireplace or a hot cup of tea or just something that made you feel warm and cozy. And so because I knew I wanted to work in the Romantic Country Scenes book because it was pulled, I was like, hang on, I'll do another flip through and see if I can find a page that works for that warm and cozy prompt. And I found the camping page. And when I saw it, I was like, hang on, they're holding cups of tea. So there's your like warm, cozy tea. But it would also be really neat to do like them having a lot of warmth and glowing from the tent and warmth and glowing from the cottage or the lodge. But have it as like a nighttime scene. So it's like really cool and crisp outside. And here they are being warm and cozy together. So it worked perfectly with the prompt. And as soon as I sort of thought of that, I saw this page. I saw the light effects, I saw the color palette, and I was like, done. This is what we're coloring. So I did change my mind, but that will happen. And I went to town on this page. I had so much fun with this page. So I used Inktense to base everything, and then I went over it with a mixture of Pablo and Polychromos pencils, and a lot of Posca as well to help with the highlighting. There's a little bit of black acrylic paint because I did actually border this. I usually forget to do this, but I had to pull out black for something else. And I was like, well, I got it out. Might as well border this. So did that. That decision cost me, which you'll find out in the future about having that black paint out. And yeah, I added in this sort of Aurora Borealis, the Southern Lights. I'm sure it's the Southern Lights. Yeah, anyway, I added in this because I was like, well, if they're staying in the lodge, why would they just be camping out here? Like, sure, it's fun to go camping, I presume. I've never personally been camping. But I'm like, why would you stay in here if your house is right there? And I was like, well, maybe there's a reason to. Maybe there's something going on in the night sky. Oh, wait, I'll add a Northern Lights. And I'm like, that's a reason why you would go and stay outside, even if your house was right here. So yeah, and that allowed me to add in a few more color highlights to the water as well, which is great. So yeah, really, really like how this came together. I didn't even add any glitter, which is very unlike me, but I got to play a lot with light effects, which I really, really like. So that is Romantic Country Scenes by Theresa Goodridge. Right, I have a page in Winged Magic by Selena Fennick. Now this one is actually a buddy colour with the Colouring Mermaid. At the time of filming this, I don't actually have their completed page. I'm not sure if they did manage to complete it or not, so can't talk about it. I'm sure it's gorgeous. If I have it by the time I have editing this video, I will insert it here, but if I haven't heard, I don't know. But what we chose to work on was the Magic Books page. And so this is my version here. Well, I have the digital copy of the book, so I have got it printed out. And I love how this came together. So I used alcohol markers, which I went over with Pablo pencils to do all the shading on this. And then I used a bit of Posca to do like some highlights on the gold to make the gold more shiny and on her gems. And of course the shinies in the eyes. I of course had to do the cats black. Of course the cats were going to be black. There was no other decision. And then on the wings themselves, I added a ton of Mod Podge Extreme glitter because, of course, I did also go over some of the lines with a silver Posca before I added the glitter because I wanted to just pale out those lines a bit but still show a little bit of the detail. And yeah, I just love how the wings came together. And then for the background, I thought it would be cool to make it look like she's in some sort of space void or, you know, somewhere mystical, magical. And so what I did, because this is, of course, a printed out digital book, it meant that it was single-sided. So I used a craft knife and very carefully cut out around inside this frame. And then I stuck a piece of card behind it with this beautiful sort of iridescent rainbow printing on it. So it's just a piece of card stuck down onto it. And I did think about trying to ground this. So I thought about maybe I've got like a brickwork stencil, so adding in like a brick background. However, I realized that she's actually floating. Her leg ends here. We've got the books here. Like, if this was on a wall, the wall would actually end up here, but we have window going below it. So I thought about maybe just stenciling in half the wall, but then it would really annoy me that the bottom half hasn't got anything. And then I was like, do I add in, because I've got wood textures, so I could add in like a floor and cut off the bottom of the window. And then in the end, it's like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with a white background. We're just going to leave it. And it's just like a frame around her. So she's a fae. Maybe she just floats. Maybe there's an invisible desk or a bench that she's sitting at. Who knows? So yeah, I did end up leaving the background. And when I first did this, I actually used a different paper behind her first. And I really hated how it looked. So I ended up pulling that off. And luckily it was able to be removed really, really easily and stuck the second paper in. So yeah, mistakes were made, but it was an easy fix and I just had to swap out the paper. And that swapped out paper went to the Life is Strange colouring book and was used on Butterfly Max. So originally I had used this beautiful iridescent shimmer paper behind her, but because it's got that green yellow reflect, I was like, this isn't actually the right colours to go behind her because she's so much blue and cold, and this has got yellows and greens, which I hadn't really used anywhere. So I did change my mind and pull that off and replace the paper, which I'm very happy I did. But then I knew I also had this picture of Max, and I was like, hang on, that'll work for butterfly wings. So yeah, I used it for that and so happy with it. So what I did here was I took the original image and went and photocopied it, and then I photocopied it twice. And so on the first photocopy, I coloured it in just with alcohol markers, and I just coloured in Max and cut around Max. And then on the second photocopy, I just cut around the wings. And I did that just in case I made a mistake on one element, then I didn't have to do it again. Because Max has got a lot of fiddly cutting around here, and these wings I knew were going to be an absolute nightmare to cut. Because then, after cutting out the wings, I very carefully cut out all these inner sections. And it took a while, trust me, especially all these little dots on the edges. I was cutting for ages. And then I used a black alcohol marker and just colored over the wing frame that was left. Now, the wings were already colored black, but I did that because sometimes when you cut around layers of paper, you can get like a little edge, or there were areas where I hadn't quite cut the edge perfectly and there was like a 1 mil gap, and I was like, I'm not going in there to try and trim up 1 mil of a tiny little dot in the center of this. So I use that just to smooth out my cutting of the wings. And then I grabbed a beautiful piece of scrapbooking card, this green, pinky, florally, I don't know, I just felt like it worked beautifully. So I shoved that in as the background and then put the iridescent paper behind the wings, retrimmed around that so that they would be to the right size, stuck the wings down, stuck Max on top, and then with the leftover iridescent paper, I used a little butterfly punch that I have and punched out all these butterflies and stuck those in as well, and sealed the whole thing with a whole lot of Mod Podge Match. And yeah, I love how this one turned out. It makes me so happy. It's so shimmery and sparkly and sweet and really, really effective. And this is why I've really fallen in love with collaging in my coloring books. Like, coloring that page, I could have colored that page as it was, which was, it had Max like this, and then it had like a path of butterflies here. And I could have done that. But this was a lot more exciting to me to actually do. And yes, there's very little colouring in there because I only coloured Max and technically coloured over the wings. But there's still a lot of work that goes into the page, and I love how it turned out. See, this is why I'm really enjoying collaging and altering pages, and yeah, I really think it came together really, really well, and I can't stop the shimmer. So that is the Life is Strange colouring book. Right, I did a page in 26 Very Deadly Dragons. This is by Jessica Feinberg, aka Rare Dragons. She is a illustrator that I discovered on Twitch. She also makes her own little independent colouring books, and you can buy them digitally. Actually, no, she's doing quite a massive sale at the moment. And I might end up getting a couple more because I really do like her work. Now, I am a bit worried that this might have fused a little bit. No, we're good. And so when I printed her book, I did print 2 images to a page, so they are half size. However, the illustrations actually work quite well being half size. And so I did this little dragon here with his scissors. I just thought it was quite funny that this deadly dragon is holding a pair of scissors. So again, I used alcohol markers to shade all of him in. And then for the background, I got some new crayons, like the the tempera paint sticks that are doing the round. I found a version locally and I was like, I'll give them a go. So I applied some of that to the background and used a little bit of water to smooth out the blend, but I forgot to add a pink in between the purple to the yellow, so it was a little messy. But I also had this acrylic glitter gel paint, and it's a gel that has a ton of glitter in it in different like chunky whips, and I really like it, but it does also have a tint to it. So I pulled out the purple one, which you can see here. Like, the purple will work in this situation, and so I just added piles of that to this page. And I actually think that really finished it off well, all that sort of chunky rainbow glitter in the background. I really like it. It was quite a simple page, but again, with so many complicated pages this month, it was nice to have some simpler pages in between to just work on. Whoops, I put that in upside down. So yeah, that is my page from 26 Very Deadly Dragons by Jessica Feinberg. All right, Colouring Heaven. We have a bunch of Colouring Heaven now. So we have the Hatsune Miku Colouring Heaven collection. This is number 2. There are two Hatsune Miku Coloring Heaven specials. And I did the Sakura Hatsune. Now, I don't know anything about this character other than she's like an android robot singer. That's about my extent of the character, but I really like the artwork. I think it's really pretty. So, yeah, I go into this with no knowledge. I may have chosen like the wrong colors. I don't care. I was just having fun with it. So, I used watercolor, which I put down first and created this gradient background. And then did I use alcohol markers on top? I did. I used a variety of alcohol markers on top to shade in. And then I used my Pablo pencils because I wanted that more opaque white for when I was colouring in the white elements. And a bunch of glitter gel pens for all the, like, sakura flowers. So there's lots of little touches of shimmer on here. And yeah, really, really like how that came together. Very pretty. I had a lot of fun this month with watercolor. Ended up doing a lot of watercolor backgrounds and playing around with watercolor a bit this month too. So, and this is another one I did actually black out the frame for, but I believe I used alcohol marker this time for the frame. Yes, that is Hatsune Miku Coloring Heaven Collection number 2. Sorry, I just need to grab a drink. Steampunk Special. This has got designs by Matt and Dawn Davidson. And I chose to do this one here by Dawn Davidson, which is called On Time. And I'm really happy with how this one turned out. This is one of the first ones I did in a month. And, oh, just love it. At the start of the month, I had like 5 or 6 pages open that I had done a bunch of watercolor backgrounds on. Again, I got really focused on watercolor there for a while and doing a bunch of backgrounds. So I really love how that came together. So I used a mixture of Anko watercolors and a little bit of Kaisercraft shimmer spray on the background. And then I used my Pablo pencils to shade in her over top of some alcohol markers. And I don't think I even pulled out Posca or anything. It was just the Pablos that I used to shade everything. Yeah. And it ended up coming together pretty quickly because it's quite a simple image, but I really like how it turned out. And it helped me crack into this book, which I've been having a lot of difficulties getting into this book because it is so detailed, so complicated, but really, really gorgeous. And so I just needed something a bit more simple to sort of break the book and be like, no, I can work in this book. And now I'll be able to do even more pages in this gorgeous book. So that is the Steampunk Special produced by Coloring Heaven with designs by Matt and Dawn Davidson. All right. The next one I have is Coloring Heaven Collection Horses with designs by Cindy Al-Sharouni and Dina Stone. And I did number 47. And again, this is a water-soluble markers special. And then I did use a little bit of Mod Podge Extreme glitter on the clouds as well, because, I don't know, it just felt right. And yeah, this was just one where I'd had a really crazy long day. I just wanted something on the simpler side to colour, and I didn't want to think too much. I was like, you know what, pull out the markers and just have fun colouring a horse. And so I had fun colouring a horse. I could, and I did think about going in there with some pencil to add in some like highlighted glow around the edges, because it would be being backlit by this yellow light from the sun. And I know it kind of feels like a sunset setting, or, you know, that low in the sky sun. So there would be a bit of a yellow glow around the sky. But genuinely, I couldn't be bothered. I was like, I'm done. It fulfilled my need that night, which was just to pull out the markers and just have a relaxing night after an absolutely crazy day. And I actually really like how it turned out. I really like that colour that I achieved for the horse as well. That is Colouring Heaven Collection Horses. And then we have Colouring Heaven Collection Flowers with more designs by Dina Stone. And for somebody who doesn't really like colouring flowers, I had a lot of fun colouring these flowers. I did this page hoping it would help me find the groove to work in the the Walk in the Woods work in progress page, which did push me to use a little bit of Inktense on that book, but yeah, it didn't help me quite find the groove, but I did really enjoy doing this one. I think because it's such a simple illustration, and I pulled out my Inktense pencils for it. So this is a Amaryllis. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Amaryllis flowers. I looked it up on Google to see what colours they were. I've seen these really beautiful dark red flowers, and I was like, perfect. And then they had bright green stalks, and then the contrast was like, cool, let's do a blue pot. And then the only primary I was missing was yellow, so I was like, cool, we'll do a yellow background. Really, really simple. It didn't take me too long, but I feel like it's quite effective and it came together really well. And there is a touch of Posca just for all the little stamen of the flowers. But other than that, entirely Inktense. Oh, and glitter gel pen for just a little bit of the design on the pot. Forgot about that one. Just like a little subtle glitter. Not a lot of glitter. That is Colouring Heaven Collection Flowers. I have Percy and the Park Keeper. And I did this one of Percy and his friends. So this is the page that I pulled the black paint out for. That meant that while I had it out, I was like, oh, I'll paint a couple extra frames and stuff like that. And this is the one that caused me problems because I left that black paint out. And then I put accidentally some stuff on it. No, that wasn't what happened. Sorry. I did put some stuff on it. I accidentally put a container on the wet paint. That was easy to clean up. But that then got transferred to some newsprint that I put in between book pages. And there was a book coming up where I accidentally put the newsprint that had the wet black acrylic paint in it that I did not realize. Yeah, so we'll get to that when we get to that. And it's because of this page. But I really like how this one turned out, regardless of the trouble it caused me. So I used alcohol markers and just alcohol markers to shade all the characters. And then I pulled out acrylic paint to do all the backgrounds behind the characters, as well as this black as well, because I thought that would really help the characters pop out like little spotlights. And it took me way longer to do the acrylic painting for the background than it did to actually do the characters and the alcohol markers. I probably should have actually just used alcohol markers on the background, but unfortunately the markers bled quite a bit because it is quite a bit of fine detail in some areas. So it was just a way to help me block out some of the overspill. But I really like how it came together. I think this is such a cute little issue. There's a lot of really fun pages in here. And yeah, that was quite a fun little one. Kind of technically like 6 little images in one, but it was just a fun little page to doodle on, to colour in. And then the final Colouring Heaven is the Wonderful Wizard of Oz with designs by Fabiana Tridi. And inspired by the new Wicked movie, I did the Wicked Witch of the West page. I have not seen the movie yet, but the stage musical is one of my favourite musicals, and I have no doubt I'm going to love the film. I just don't like going to the movie theatre, so I'll see it eventually. I'll probably wait for it to come to a streaming platform, though, to be honest. So yeah, I have this page here. So for the character itself, I used Inktense pencils. And so all her beautiful green skin and the fabric is all done in Inktense. I was thinking about going over it with another layer, but I was actually really happy with just how the Inktense looked on this as is. So I didn't feel the need to go in with pencils or anything else. I did use a little bit of metallic gel pen just to do like the trim on her outfit. So she's got a little bit of green sparkle. And then she had this really detailed gem choker here. And I was like, well, hang on. Instead of colouring that in, I'm pretty sure I have some like magazine cutouts that have close-ups of jewelry. So I went into my parlor pictures and I did indeed have a jewelry page that had like this ring with this pearl, this green pearl in it, and then a pearl drop earring in the same green. And then I believe this was a brooch and a pair of earrings that I kind of layered together to create this choker piece. And yes, I could have coloured in what was there, but I also really like collaging, so I thought that was really cool. And then for her wand here, this originally was an umbrella, and I genuinely did not want to colour the umbrella. I didn't like the umbrella. I was like, you know what? Let's turn this into a wand. So down here with her hand, I actually cut this piece out and stuck like a solid piece of card behind here. And then using that same green glitter card, I then created the wand going up, just creating like a stick. And then I used this ring design that I had in that same jewelry thing with the green pearl on top to give her a magic wand. And then because I wasn't colouring in the umbrella, I needed to get rid of it. So I actually just cut out the illustration entirely from the umbrella that was there, leaving just like a tiny little frame around the edge. And then I used this piece of scrapbooking card behind her, which I really love this choice. I feel like this was a really good choice behind her with all the different greens and that little touch of bronzy gold. And then I just used some washi tape just to seal down the edges, and I felt like the black glitter was actually a really appropriate choice for the frame. But yeah, I really love how this came together. Oh, and a tiny bit of Posca for highlighting the lips and the eyes and the scar on her eye as well. But yeah, this is really, really neat, this book. I feel like I'm going to end up probably doing a couple in The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, especially if I do see the movie. I have a couple of Wizard of Oz themed books, so yeah. So that was the Wonderful Wizard of Oz special by Colouring Heaven with designs by Farigana Tridi. Okay, I now have two Stratton Peterson books to show you completed pages in. Just move my colouring journal so it doesn't fall. Now I've got a little bit more room on the desk here. So I did a page in Lunar Colouring, which is the Golden Flowers. So once again, this is another water-based marker page. So entirely done with water-based markers. I did use a metallic gold gel pen to do the stars and the borders and the moon. And I added a bit of stickles to the top of the moon and also the center of the stars as well. So there's a little bit of sparkle there. I kind of wanted to cover the whole stars, but because I had used water-based markers, I didn't want to risk having bleed, because if I put the gel on top, there's a chance that the water-based markers would activate and bleed. So instead, I just placed a dot in the center where it was on top of the gel pen, which I knew wouldn't budge from the stickles. And there is a little bit of Posca in the center of the flowers as well. And I did look up primrose flowers, and I did look up goldfinches as well, and take inspiration from the colors for all of them. And if I was to do this again, the only thing I'd do is see if I had a darker blue for the background. I feel like this blue is too light in retrospect, but I'm still pretty pleased with it overall. So that is Luna by Stratton Peterson. And then I have Nature's Magic, also by Stratton Peterson. And I have the Believe in Love page. Once again, water-based markers. A little bit of Posca, a little bit of metallic gel pen for around the Ocean Trail. and a little bit of stickles on the bee wings as well. But I am really, really pleased with this page, especially the gem and how I managed to get so much detail into the gem. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull off the gem in water-based markers, but I'm very happy with how that one came out. And so because this is meant to be a traditional love potion, and it is a potion that is an infusion of rose petals and honey, so I chose that real honey rich color for the potion itself. And then I did think about doing like different colored roses, but I decided to go with the traditional sort of reddy pinky rose because I thought that would pop really well with this sort of honey brown and the yellow. And then keeping in that scheme, I decided to make the bottle peach because it's like the pink and the brown combined. And then the pop of the green with the leaves, I thought was just the perfect little touch. I'm really pleased with this one. I'm someone, again, not a big fan of colouring flowers, but I really enjoyed this one. So, yeah. And now I've got a page worked in this book. These are, again, all untouched books this month. So, completely untouched before this. Definitely want to get another one done in Nature's Magic at some point. Right. Animal Kingdom by Millie Marotta. This is the page where I had the black paint disaster. Not that you can tell on the page itself. Although I did have some overspill because I didn't actually take that off very well, as you can tell. But yes, I started with the background. And so the background is a mixture of watercolor, Anko watercolor, and also some iridescent Anko watercolor. These ones here, I love these paints. And then I also used some Liquitex acrylic ink in the white and some shimmer spray. And I was just having a lot of fun layering this in the background. I really liked how it was going. I had gessoed the page to prepare for a really thick background. I was like, oh, this is going to look really, really cool. And then even though I gessoed the page, I had a piece of newsprint behind this just so that, you know, I wouldn't spill over to the pages behind it. But this newsprint was the one that had a big, massive glob of black paint on it. And so when I stuck it in here, the original page that was behind it got this big splotch of black acrylic paint. And I was like, oh no. And the designer's like, I might be able to work around it, maybe some collage. So I went to remove it and ended up lifting off the page. And I ended up bumping it everywhere in the process. And I was like, you know what? I cannot be bothered trying to fix this. The page that it leaked on wasn't the most inspiring to me. I can't even remember what it was. It was a page that I was like, I'm probably never going to colour this anyway. It might have been a wallpaper page. So I was like, well, the page is ruined anyway. Why don't I to cut out sections of this turtle and stick a piece of card in between and then just stick the damaged pages together? So that's what I did. So this is all, again, very carefully cut out. I did use Mod Podge matte, but I sealed over the top of this glitter card, which means it has lost a lot of its glitteriness. It is still glittery, but it has been mattified down, which is a bit sad. And then I just used a paint pen to block in the actual shape of the turtle. And I found these gold stickers that are in the shape of sea creatures. Like, hang on, that's kind of cool. They'll go cool on top. So I just put those on top too. Is this how I saw the page when I first started it? No. But I really like how it turned out. Like, it's very, very different. And the other thing I did as well, one of the reasons why I had to go so thick on the background was because there was originally text here. And so I used a Posca to block out the text. But then the background, it was making it very clear there was just a big Posca line here. So I kind of just started like playing and layering different things and seeing if I could hide that basically Posca line across here that hid the text. Might have been easier just to try and hide the text and not use the Posca. But hey, again, not how I envisioned this page when I started, but I do like how it's turned out. It's Millie Marotta's Animal Kingdom. We have the Princesses and Fairies colouring book by Tomoko Tashiro. And I did this fairy page, which once again I have some overspill on because I'm really bad at protecting opposite pages. This one, oh god, what didn't I chuck at this page? So I started off using some water-based markers to shade in the Fae and her dress. And then I wanted her dress to actually be sparkly, so I decided I would go over the top with Mod Podge Extreme Glitter to make her dress sparkly, and then I used a bunch of Posca and metallic gel pens to do all the flowers and details on her dress there. And then same with her hair, all the flowers is paint pen. And then her wings were originally, they had like a bunch of design on them, but I decided to just block them out with acrylic paint. And then I added that glitter gel paint with all the chunky glitter to it, to the wings as well. And then I came to the background. And I was going to use this Art Alchemy acrylic paint, which is an opal paint that is in a yellow to blue shift. It's really, really pretty. And when you water this down and just sort of let it run out, it's super duper pretty. And so that's what I was originally going to do, is just let it run out from here. However, the brush that I used had some of that black acrylic paint on it that I did not realize I hadn't washed out properly. That black acrylic paint haunted me all month. And so when I started to apply it, we got all these areas of dark swirly mixing into it. And I was like, oh, damn. And I had already applied it and there was nothing I can do. I was like, cool, we'll just have to do the whole page with it then. And then I used some purple and gold shimmer paints that I just splattered on everywhere because I was like, well, why not? And the paint pens to do all the floral details down here. And then because I had the little circle centers from the bubbles that I had applied to the turtle page before, Millie Marotta's turtle page, I just stuck those on too. I was just like, at this point, I was having fun with it. And I was like, cool, let's add on splatter, let's add on stickers. You know, like, again, this is another one where I did not see it going this way, but it's the way that we ended up going. And sometimes it's really fun to do on a page. It is so glittery. It is so, so glittery. That is the Princesses and Fairies colouring book by Tomoko Tashiro. And now I have 2 Daria Song pages. I had one pulled by my random generator, but I ended up also working in my other Daria Song book. So now all my Daria Songs have been worked as well, which is awesome. So I'll start off with the Night Voyage. And I did a massive double page spread in here. Let me just get the tag because I had to stick it on the page behind because it would not stick down to the page. Which is this one here. Hopefully the light isn't too bad and we can see it. Excellent. So this is another one where I pulled out the Anko watercolor. I also pulled out the iridescent watercolor, the Kaisercraft shimmer sprays, and I just did an abstract watery background. And then to color in the actual cart, I used Pablo colored pencils to shade in the cart and her. And then for all the origami frames and the couple of paper planes and stuff that were in here, I used washi tapes. I used a whole bunch of different washi tapes and very carefully cut around them. It was actually a lot easier than other pages that I've put washi tape on because these were a lot of straight edges. It was actually pretty straightforward to cut all this, just took time. But yes, very carefully cut around all the pages, all the washi tape to make all the shapes of the different birds in that. And then just to make sure everything was stuck down securely, plus to add some more shimmer to the page, because you know I love my glitters, I added a layer of Mod Podge Extreme Glitter, which helped not only add a beautiful glitter to the sky, but also sealed down all our washi tapes to make sure that they don't lift. And yeah, I really like how this turned out. And there is more, you can see here where I've got a little bit of overspill from the watercolor, but we have got more washi tape birds here, so I might do this again on another page, although those ones are very, very fiddly looking. But yeah, I really like how this came together. I should not be tapping, it shakes the camera. So that is a Night Voyage by Daria Song. And I have a piece of washi on the front cover from when I was doing all that. Oh. Don't forget to put this back in. And then I can also see that my other potential page in here that I had marked, I can remove that bookmark. And then the other one that I did was in the time chamber. So this one wasn't planned, but I was looking for a book to color in from my unworked books, and I saw this one. Like, oh, hang on, I've got an idea for that. So this one, originally in the center of this frame, there was like a star pattern, and it's meant to be like a mirror that she's looking through. So she does have her reflection here as well. And I was like, oh, that's super cute, but you know we're turning that into a portal. And so again, I took this book and got it photocopied. Took the frame from the photocopy and cut around it very, very carefully. Coloured it in with my polychromos pencils and a little touch of Posca for the highlights, as well as her. Coloured her in with polychromos pencils. And then I printed out a page of a faraway fantasy type of landscape. I just googled one and printed out one that I liked the colour scheme of. And then originally I was going to add a layer of gloss varnish by Liquitex to the page and have that so it would be all glossy and shiny like it was a mirror that she was seeing through. However, the printing actually kind of acted as a resist to the gloss varnish, and it would not actually lay down as a solid gloss varnish, which was really, really intriguing. I'd never come across that before. So instead, I pulled out my Mod Podge Extreme Glitter, which did try to resist, but had a little bit more tack to actually stick onto the page. So it is a little bit glossy because of the Mod Podge Extreme Glitter, but it's also very glittery, which, I mean, I'm not mad at. And once again, I did think about, do I need to like set a scene for this? Do I need to put her on the ground or add a background behind all this? And then I was like, you know what? No, I really like the clean white around it. I really liked the focus just being on this and not adding in a background. So all done. And I still have this image and I didn't use the full image. So I was thinking I might use the other side of the image or another section or just find another image altogether and do something very similar on this side. And create another mirror portal on this side. That is the Time Chamber by Daria Song. Okay, the next one I have for you is the Witcher colouring book. And I did this page of Eerie. This is again another water-based marker page with a little bit of metallic and glitter gel pens just for the frame. But the majority of this was all coloured with water-based markers. And when I first coloured this and coloured Eerie's skin, I was like, oh no, I've gone way too dark. I'm going to have to pull out pencils to lighten this. But when I finished colouring everything in, I actually realised in retrospect it's not actually too dark. I probably should go in and lighten her hair and her face just a little bit and add in some more white, or block out the white with black paint. And then that would make this appear a lot lighter as well. But didn't want to deal with any more black acrylic paint. and be very happy with this page. I really, really like the shading that I managed to achieve with the water-based markers. You can see here where Shadow decided to nudge my pencil. He thinks they're there so he can, not pencil, pen. He thinks they're there so he can rub his head on them and use them to scratch his neck as I'm colouring with them. And it's like, I'm here, and then he'll rub his neck, and then it's poof. Like, come on, Shadow. But yeah, I'm really, really happy to have this page done and have worked in this gorgeous book. This is another one that I really want to get some more done in as well. So lots and lots of gorgeous artwork in here. So that is the Witcher colouring book. I believe it's by CK Red Project. The Throne of Glass colouring book, which is based on the series by Sarah J. Maas, who also did the Court of Thorns and Roses series and the Crescent City series, which I love all of them. And so I did this page here. And oh, very, very happy how this one went. Now, originally I was going to do, I called it the booty shot. Of Selena here, and I really like this page with how powerful she looks in the page. And I went to start it, and then I flicked back to this page, because before I start a page in a book, like, I'll tag a page, but when I go to color in it, I'll have a quick flick through the book just to see if anything else inspires me more in the moment. And I saw this page and I was like, hang on, no, I really like this page. And then I saw again the color palette in my head. I was like, oh, very limited color palette. Inktense, no, we're switching to this page. So yeah, last minute switched to this page, and I'm really glad I did, because I saw the grey brown stone textures and doing lots of browns and then a little bit of yellows and orange for the sun and her hair, and I just saw it, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's going to work. That's the page we're doing. So once again, I got to play with lights as well, because if this is our light source over here, how did it affect all the stones and the texture and the lights hitting here? So yeah, I really like how this one came together. So it is primarily Inktense for the whole page. I did use a little bit of Pablo pencil, basically the yellow, just to add back in those light effects from the sun and the light hitting it. And that's it. No stickles, no Posca, no any other items, just Inktense and a bit of pencil. That is the Throne of Glass colouring book by Sarah J. Maas. It does, I believe it's at the back, it has the illustrators. I never worked out what page number it was, so it's either Yvonne Gilbert, John Howe, or Craig Phillips that illustrated it. And Yvonne Gilbert did most of this book, so I'm guessing it's possibly her, but it could be any of those three, because I forgot to count what page number it was. Yeah, another gorgeous book that I want to do a lot more in. Works super well for Inktense, and I love just pulling out the Inktense and colouring a page. Right. The next book I have is Romantic Country, the second tale by Eerie. Now I have a bunch of tags in here because I've actually tagged some Christmas pages that I'm hoping to do in December in this book. But before we could do that, we had to finish off our work in progress in here. And so glad to have it finished. And fortunately for me, What Colourful Worlds originally had buddied with me on this page, and both of us hadn't managed to complete it in the month, and they messaged to say, hey, you want to get that Eerie page finished? I was like, absolutely. So we sat down to finish it off this month. So I want to see their gorgeous version here. I love how it turned out. Just so beautiful. And it was an absolute joy to buddy with them. And it really helped me get into this book and complete my first page in here. And my God, do I love Eerie's work. So this is my version here. I am so pleased with how this came together. So I started off by basing the entire spread with Inktense pencils, and I actually used an alcohol marker to activate them instead of water, which was an interesting effect. It did slightly shadow through to this side. However, most of it is on the blank area of this page, so I'm just going to have to choose something in the background to cover up that one a bit. It's not a hard fix. I'll probably stick to water in the future, but it was fun to try. So yeah, alcohol marker activated Inktense, and then I went over the Inktense with a mixture of Pablo and Prismacolor pencils, depending on the area and the colors that I needed. And then I used some Posca to do some highlights, like all the glass having a little bit of shine, pulling out the Man of Flower written on the cart here, some little bits on like the pots and just little details around the page, center of the flowers, that sort of thing. And yeah, I am very, very pleased with how this page turned out. I adore this book and I cannot wait to get in here and do a whole bunch more. I have 2 pages tagged for December because I really want to get some more done in here and just get more done in this book. And eventually I would like to also get some more of Eerie's work because this is my only Eerie book and I love it. Absolutely love it. I understand the rabbit hole and why people like Eerie's work so much. So yeah, very excited to have that done. Thank you again, What Colourful Worlds, for buddying with me on that page, and expect a lot more Eerie. Mythographic Artist Vault. This was the 4th book that was gifted to me by the beautiful Smalt, and oh, so blessed to have this in my collection. So of course I had to jump in and do a page straight away. And so I did this page here from Joseph Cadenbang. And when I first saw this page, I was like, oh, water creatures, water. So I had to jump in because I love my water creatures. And then I started with the background. So I used that Anko iridescent watercolor, and hopefully you can see some of the color shifting in the background. The mixture of like the greens and the purples. And then I used my Inktense pencils to do all the elements on the page. And I had left just these random floating objects and her skin. But I was having real difficulty defining the horse on the page, the water horse. So I ended up pulling out a polychromos pencil and just darkening around and adding some depth and dimension into the horse just to make it really pop out. And when I did that, I was like, okay, yeah, this looks much better. And then it was like, well, for all the objects, let's just do some gold because I think that little pop of gold would look really lovely. And I coloured in her skin like a light brown. And then I was like, you know what? Let's add the gold on top. So it's also the Anko iridescent watercolor, but it's just like a shimmery gold. So I added a very thin layer of that over the top of her skin, as well as the thicker layer over all the objects. And I really love that contrast. And a little bit in his eye as well, because why not? And then there's a bit of Posca for all the bubbles as well. Yeah, really liked how that page came together. So that is Mythographic Artist Vault. This is a collection of pages from Joseph Cadenbang, Fabiana Atanasio, and third one, drawing in a blank. The final lines. Final lines person. Alessandra Fusi. There we go. But the page I did was from Joseph Cadenbang. Gorgeous book. Right. I have 2 Joanna Basford books that I worked in this month. So the first one I did is in Magical Jungle. This is the one that was drawn in my random tracker, random selection. And I chose to do this page here. I had a couple of pages marked as potentials, but in the end I decided to go with this one here because I had this idea for the background, so I really wanted to achieve this background, and I feel like I did. I really, really like how it came together. It's very simple, but really, really effective. And so it's just the Anko watercolor in the background, which I really saturated the page to do this. And I mean really saturated the page, and it's not too bad. It is a bit crinkly, of course, but it hasn't really bled through or anything. And so I added a lot of water and just let the colors sort of blend and meld together. And then once that was dry, I used water-based markers, but I was trying to keep it quite flat. I didn't actually want to add shading to this one. I just kept it very, very flat with the shading and just did a little bit of gold gel pen just on certain details of the page. It's very, very simple and straightforward, but I don't know, it really spoke to me and I was very happy with the outcome of this one. And I think this sort of background would work well to even do pencil shading on top or anything else like that. Like, it's just a really beautiful way to fill in that background. Yeah, that is my double page spread in The Magical Jungle by Joanna Basford. And then the other Joanna Basford I did was in Enchanted Forest. And I did this page here, which is called Feathers. And so I was looking for a page similar to what I had done in Magical Jungle. And this page was called Feathers, and it has a bunch of leaves and a couple of feathers in this pattern that spills across the page. And I was like, oh, that's actually similar to what I liked about Magical Jungle. So I started off by doing the background, but this time I went a lot heavier with my paints. So it's a mixture of watercolor and Kaisercraft shimmer spray. So we have got some cleanup to do because I went much heavier this time. And then, so it's also because it's like the shimmer spray, it's also got a bit of shimmer to the gold. And then I just used some metallic paint pens to color in all the leaves and feathers. I just kept them very simple and just blocked them in as they were because I knew I had a bunch of feather stickers. And I was like, that would be really cool to add to the page. And then I'm like, well, they have these little birds on the page as well. So I'll block those in. And I blocked them in with what I thought was a red, but it was actually more of a pinky color. And I really didn't like it. And I was like, well, what are we going to do now? I know, I can fix this. And I went to my collage pile. And so I found a bunch of different little bird images and some bigger bird images and just spent ages cutting around all these different birds and just layering them down on the page in different ways and then adding the feather stickers on top. And then I pulled out my Liquitex acrylic white ink and just added a bunch of splatter on top as well. And yeah, I really like it. Again, this was not where I expected this page to go, but sometimes that happens. And I had so much fun collaging. I did a lot of collage this month, and I really, really enjoyed it as well. I don't think there was anything else I did on the page. Just a mixture of magazine cutouts, stickers, shimmer spray, watercolor, acrylic ink, and the metallic markers. Pretty sure that's everything. But yeah, that is my double page spread in Enchanted Forest. And you can see where, because I went so heavy on the page, it even spread out and a little bit onto the cover. Like, I put a lot of ink onto that background. And then the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books are all Kerby's. So if I had completed that work in progress, that would have been 6 Kerby's that I did this month. So the work in progress is my last untouched Kerby book, I believe. No, I might still have one more unworked Kerby book. I think I still have an animals one that is unworked as well. One of the collection issues. But yeah, this is like the majority of my Kerby collection now being worked, which is awesome to have done. So the first one I'll show you is in Morphia. Now originally I think I had chosen to do like some parrots in here maybe. Yeah, I think I'd originally chosen that I was going to do this parrot page, but then of course at the time my feelings changed and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this shark page. And oh boy. So, one of my favorite techniques is to use Liquitex acrylic ink and put down a layer of gesso and paint with the inks on top. And it creates this really beautiful watery effect. And so I prepped the page with gesso, but I'd run out of my clear Liquitex gesso that I regularly use. And so I had a new gesso, which is this Anko gesso. And I knew it wasn't clear. It's a matte white finish, but they usually have a little bit of transparency. And I was like, it should be fine. And so I put it down and it blocked out a lot of the line work. And I was like, oh, okay, you're a little bit more opaque than I realized, but it will still work. The texture was a lot smoother as well than I was used to. The Liquitex has quite a rough texture, and this was quite a smooth one, so it was real interesting. So I went and I pulled out my Liquitex acrylic inks and my Kaisercraft shimmer sprays, and I started playing with it all over the background. And as soon as I put that first layer, even keeping it as light as possible, the lines were practically covered. I could still see a couple of them, but the majority of them were covered. I was like, oh no, what are we going to do? Because I could not see enough of the line work to justify working on the page. However, because this is a collab book, I was like, okay, let's figure out where this image is from. So I did some Googling and I found out that this shark is originally from Morphia, and I had not colored it in Morphia. So I took my copy of Morphia and got it photocopied. And then I also got printed a bunch of sea life pictures that I just pulled off the internet. I went through my collection of random images as well and pulled out a bunch of different objects. And then very, very carefully, I cut around the pink shark and the little dolphin that were there. I also cut around, you might just be able to see it, maybe if I turn it this way. You might be able to see some of it. I cut around the plant life that was down here. This took me ages to cut out, and you can barely see it now. But I did cut around all the coral and the sea life that was down here. And then I used alcohol markers to color in all these elements. The actual coral, I just basically blacked that out because I knew I wanted to create a really dark to light gradient. Then I came back to the page, and since I knew I was working with photocopies and collage, I went in ham on the ink, and I went really, really dark on this bottom, and I laid up lots and lots of ink, and especially a navy shimmer spray that I don't get to use a lot because it's so dark. So I layered a lot of that up, and then I started sticking on my cutout pieces. I have, like, you can just see there's a little dolphin in there and some turtles, and there are some like fish buried down here. I even like used a hole punch and cut out different purples and greens and blue papers and added a bunch of random dots that are around. Added in, you know, like there's another dolphin up there, some additional turtles, as well as the turtles Kerby's drawn. There's some manta rays and some jellyfish, and added in lots of that stuff. I used Liquitex white acrylic ink and added in a bunch of bubbles everywhere and splatter. And then I needed to seal down the page because even though I'd collaged all these items in and I used my Mod Podge matte, you know, some of these items were so small that there was a little bit of matte Mod Podge around the side. So I needed to sort of do a final sealing layer and just even that out. Forgot about the fact that Kaisercraft Shimmer Spray activates with Mod Podge Matte if it is not fully cured. And it had not fully cured. So as I did that, it picked up the shimmer spray and started bringing it up. And I was like, oh God, have I just ruined it again? Have I just ruined it again? But then I realized, actually, I can work with this. And so I did. I used it to sort of stipple up a bit more and bring out this darkness. Because before, it was very much like these collage elements were stuck on the page. It was very obvious. But because of the shimmer spray spreading, it meant I got to darken this dolphin, and it helped just make the light appear more light. And I really liked it. And I was like, you know what? That kind of works. And then after I had done that, I was like, cool, more white splatter. So I did more white splatter on top just to, emphasize the bubbles. I purposely dropped in some extra thick white splatter just to add that back in. And then I was like, you know what this page needs? Because we haven't chucked enough at it, let's chuck Mod Podge Extreme Glitter on it as well. And let's just make it extra sparkly as well. Yeah. So it's shiny, it's sparkly, it's chaos, and you have to look to see all the hidden objects, and I love it. It is chaos. I am the first to admit it's chaos. And it's another one where I didn't see it going like that, but it could have been a disaster page if I just walked away from it after that gessoing and gone, nah, and just walked away from it, It could have been left like that for ages. Instead, we made it work. And I really like it. I really like my pink shark. I still don't know why I went pink for the shark out of all the colours, but I really like that pop of bright pink against all that dark blue. And I still have the page in Morphia, so one day I can do it properly now that I have a brand new bottle of Liquitex clear gesso to use in the background. And I do plan to. One day I'll do it how I imagined it, but for the meantime, I'm happy with my version in Morphia. Come here. Right, I have one in World of Colour. Now this one is also a buddy colour, and it's with the wonderful Perfection Cider. However, when we booked this buddy in, Perfection did ask to have a couple of months. So we were planning to do it between November and January. And then one day I just got really, really excited and really inspired, and this came together in a couple of hours. And I was like, whoops. So when Perfection does finish their page, if they do finish their page, no pressure, I will make sure I post it on Instagram, both versions of the page, so that you can see the buddy. But for now, I'll show you my completed page. And it is this, I was calling it the Smoke Dragon. I really like how this turned out, especially with the background. Like, hopefully you're picking up, the iridescentness of this background. So once again, this is the Anko iridescent watercolor. I love these watercolors. I did so much with the iridescent watercolors this month. And so it shifts between like green and brown and purple and gold, which I really, really love. And I just decided to do that one day, and I was just going to do the background and just leave it at that. But I did that, and I was like, ooh, this combo of colors that I've done in the background, that would be really cool if I did purple for the smoke. And I just got in the new Derwent 28 pencils, so I pulled out the Inktense and colored in the purple smoke, doing like a mixture of browns to purples, using lots of the dusky purple. And I did all that, and I was like, oh, that's so pretty with the purple. But obviously the mountain needs to be brown, so suddenly I pulled out browns and started shading the mountain brown. It's like, you know what would work with that, and especially the golden here, is if the dragon is yellow. And so I did that, and then at that point I had just like the belly left to go and the little balls, and I was like, well, I may as well finish this page because I am so close already. And so yeah, I just pulled out a little bit of mink actually for the belly, and for the actual balls in the hand I used a yellow with a bit of gold metallic gel pen and some Posca. And I thought for contrast, it would be really cool to use a blue Posca for like the lightning that is coming down and hitting the city, and emphasize that in the balls itself as its little power orbs. And then, because I really enjoyed it this month, I pulled out the Liquitex white acrylic paint and just added a little bit of splatter around as well. I really like splatter. It just made me happy. But yeah, it started with just adding in that background, and then as soon as I had that background, it was like boom, 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 boom. So this is what I mean sometimes about if you don't know what to do on a page, start with the element you do know, or just start with an element that you've got an idea for. I had an idea for the background, and as soon as I did that, it led to the smoke, which led to the mountain, which led to the skin, which basically led to the page being complete. Yeah, just start with an element and you'll never know where you'll go from there. So that is my page in World of Colour by Kerby Rosanes. Now we have Colour Morphia. And I did this big double page spread here, the Dino page. This is one of the first pages that I pulled. And I was super duper excited to get it because I've always wanted to colour this Dino page. And so I did this month. And so I used an Inktense base for both the background and the Dino itself. And then on top of both the Inktense, but also this side here, water-based markers. This whole page is basically done in water-based markers. And I did think about adding glitter and shimmer and sparkle and anything like that, but genuinely felt like it did not need it. I was very happy with it as is, and I was really trying to keep quite a limited color scheme. I did end up adding in a little bit of teal, which I think is the one choice that I regret, especially like this little butterfly up here. Your eye is very drawn to that. This darker blue teal is probably the one color I would remove and do something a bit different for. But yeah, I was trying to keep it in sort of the reds and the browns and the greens and yellows and just keep in those real earthy tones. Yeah, a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. We do have a little bit of bleed through, as you can see. However, this one I can block out around it, and then in here I imagine there's a bit of color. I'll make it work on that side. Same with this one. It's not too bad. It's mostly in the background, which I can block out. So I'd rather play with the material that I want to play with to complete the page and worry about bleeding through to the other side, because I know I can correct bleed throughs. I've done it a lot. So yeah, really happy with my Dino page. That is from Colour Morphia by Kerby Rosanes. I think the original is in Morphia from memory too, because these are all compilation books so far, so you'll find the originals in the original books. Alright, Colour Universe. I did this flamingo page. This is a bit of a last minute one added in. And then I added in another last minute Kerby because I did this one so quickly. I really like my Kerby's. Kerby just comes together for me so easily, and I really enjoy colouring his work. And this was no exception, even though I'd already coloured flamingos this month, which is the next page coming up. I saw this one. I was like, I see this. Again, if I look at a page and I get inspired by a colour palette, it's like, yep, I see this. I'm going for this. So yeah, I of course saw the pink of the flamingos, and then I saw the light source and the greens, like they're in a secret lush sort of area of the forest where there's a magical pool that's actually got a little city underneath. And so I thought it'd be really cool to have like more warmer greens and yellows and pinks up here, and the cooler purples and blues down here. There is a little bit of green there as well, but it's a very cool green as opposed to the warmer greens up here. So yeah, that contrast really intrigued me as well. And once again, I wanted to play with a lot of lighting as well. So it's almost like a vinaigrette where you've got the sides are all darkened, and then we've got the central light point as the light from here is shining down. So I based everything in Inktense, and then I used Pablo pencils and a bit of Posca to get some sharper white highlights in there. I did really contemplate glitter. I really contemplated putting glitter over the water and making that all sparkly as well. And I was advised very much against it. And this person was right. You were right. I didn't need to add glitter. My gut is still saying add glitter, but my heart is also saying no, it does not need glitter. And I'm right in that feeling. It does not need glitter. It is perfect as is. I'm just a sucker for a sparkly page. But it's got sparkles. It's got sparkles highlights, you know? It's just not glitter. But it's perfect as is. I don't need to do anything else. And I'm very happy with this one. And for a page that wasn't planned originally, but turned out I like it. So that is Color Universe by Kerby Rosanes. And then, are we ready? The last page. Oh my goodness. I don't even know how long this video is because I've been recording this in sections to give my voice a break in between. The last one I have is in Reflections by Kerby Rosanes. And it is a double. And it is amongst my favourite of the month as well. And it is this flamingo page. This is another, how many things can I chuck at a page? And I have to show you just how sparkly and iridescent and beautiful this page is, because there's no way the photos capture it. There is so much shimmer and sparkle and glitter built into this page. So, let me turn back to the page this one is on, because I want to make sure I get all this media right, because there's a lot. So I started off with the Anko watercolor for the background, and to that I also added the iridescent watercolor. I used the clear that has like a pink shimmer reflect in it, and a little bit of the gold. I also pulled out my gold Kaisercraft shimmer spray and used that as well. That clear iridescent shimmer, I also splattered it across the background as well to add in all these little splatter effects, as well as the Kaisercraft shimmer spray. And then I then took Inktense pencils and I based out the flamingo entirely in Inktense. I added in with water-based markers all the little critters. So this is all water-based markers once again. And I was really trying to limit the palette. I was going for peaches, oranges, browns, and yellows. Not a color palette I normally do, but I love the color palette. Like, really happy with that decision of a color palette. And then I also use some metallic and glitter gel pens for different details around on the creatures. Apparently. Oh yeah, like the stars were done in metallic gel pens. I believe I coloured the little Fae with glitter gel pens, and then I wasn't happy with the glitter, so I pulled out stickles and added more glitter to it. I went over the little smoky clouds with a really thick layer of the iridescent watercolor so that they'll be really, really shimmery. Of course, splattered more Kaisercraft shimmer spray on top. And then the one element that I wasn't happy with was these water waves here, because it was such an area of focused light and a lot of dark elements that your eye was being immediately drawn here. So I ended up grabbing the Stickles glitter glue that I used on the Fae and just dabbling that on top. I put down a layer of Posca first to try and stop as much bleed through as possible. There is a little bit on the sides here, but the bleed is very minimal. So I was trying my best to avoid too much bleed through, and the Posca, having that layer down first, helped a lot. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everything. Look, it barely bled through as well. It was absolutely shocking to me. Like, we've got a little bit in the corner here, but that can be covered so easily. yeah, barely bled through, which is pretty awesome. And I'm just really happy with it. It's everything I love. It's shimmery and glittery and iridescent and sparkly and yeah, I love it. I think it's also because it's a color palette I don't usually use. I don't normally do pink and peach and orange and yellow and brown. Like, this is not a typical palette for me. So it was just really fun to work in such a different color array. But yes, with that beautiful page here, that is all 45 of my completed pages for the month from 38 individual books. So 38 books, and then as I count double pages as 2 pages, so because we had 7 double page spreads, it brought us to 45 pages. So yeah, for our end of month stats, because of everything that has gone on, we worked in 45 pages. As I said, 3 of them were buddies, 7 of them were doubles from 38 new books. Incredible, incredible month. Computer, why are you popping up with that right now? Go away. So I had 7 work in progress pages. I completed 1 with finishing Romantic Country. I worked on 1 but didn't finish it, which was the Walk in the Woods page. And then I created 1 with the Cyclops Kerby page that I did not finish. So we end the month on 7. No increase, no decrease. That's fine. Month of December, several of these whips are in the plan for the month. So I think we'll end the year hopefully below 5. That would be incredible. And then for our books, so I ended up giving 7 new books this month because I was gifted the 4 from Smalt, Magical Woodland, Cute Chibi Creature Colouring, Secret Worlds, and Mythographic Artist Vault. And then I discovered that my local bookshop has been holding out on me, and they have a second section where they have adult colouring books, and I did not know, and I have gone in that bookshop so many times. I could have gone nuts, but I only bought 3 because I wanted the Wicked film official colouring book. And then I also got Dark Fairies by Tabarif and Goddess Colouring by Anna Yarden, which is a book I had actually pre-ordered months ago, but hadn't actually been able to turn up. So, yeah. So we got 7 new books. I also unhauled 3 books. Because I was focusing so much on new books this month, it gave me a chance to look at like my unworked books. And as I was doing that, there were certain books that I came across and was like, you know what? I know I'm not going to work in this. And then on top of that, with it being so close to Christmas, there is a local charity that is working to organize Christmas gifts for kids that aren't getting gifts this year. And I know they get a lot of younger kid toys, but I checked and asked, and I was like, do you give to like older teenagers? They're like, actually we do. And so I took 3 coloring books out of my collection, plus some brand new markers and pens that I had, and I made 2 little kits out of it. So I pulled out Manic Botanic, the Secret Garden Artist Edition, and A Million Dogs by Lulu Mayo. And they have been unhauled from my collection because I realized that I'm not going to work in those books, and they are instead being gifted to older teenagers as part of this Christmas present drive. So that, with removing 3 books but getting 7 new books and working in 38 unworked books, means our worked in total is now 216 out of 244 books, which puts us at 89.2%. I am basically 90% through my shelf, and considering I started the year at like 32%, that is freaking incredible. Now, am I going to be able to work this last 10-11% in the month of December? No, because I want to focus on Christmas colouring. However, I do have some untouched books that I am working on in December, so we'll definitely get into the 90s. Like, ending the year in the 90s, I was just aiming for 60s. So to get to 90s is awesome. Like, I am so, so pleased with how this month went. New book November was a massive success for me, and I hope it was just as successful for you. I wish I could bottle up this productivity every month. Like, this is absolutely crazy. This is the most I have ever done in a month. And oh gosh, if I could do this every month, could you imagine? Like, I usually average around 20 pages, so I more than doubled my pages this month. And I produced a lot of pages that I really, really love. And I hope you do too. So if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, first off, thank you. And if you are not already, please do hit that subscribe button down below. This is basically the only video I asked you to do so. I really appreciate it if you would be. If you're interested in the videos and you like watching colouring content, my video schedule is very random. This is my side hobby of my hobby. So videos will come up when they come up during the month of November. I didn't want to film anything. I needed to colour for me. So I coloured for me, which meant I didn't film anything for YouTube. That will happen some months. I think I filmed a flip through and that's about it. Yeah, some months you'll get a lot of content and some months you won't get any. It's the side hobby of the hobby. But I do at least put up a completed pages video every month. 90% of the time. Selling myself great here. Anyway, please let me know down below what your favourite pages were and what are you excited about to colour in December. I know obviously it's the holiday seasons for a lot of us. We end up doing holiday colouring. Surprise me, what are you planning to colour that isn't holiday related? What is your like oddball colouring next month? I'm really curious to hear what people are thinking of colouring. And yeah, if you have any questions, anything you'd like to know, I'm an open book. Just put it all down below. I really, really appreciate you watching this long video. I can't even tell how long it is. I've got to go and put a whole bunch of pieces together. Yeah, we got a lot of editing to do. But thank you so, so much for watching. Appreciate you all so much. Aroha to you all. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.